Today is Friday, July 17, 2026. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Loud line last night from Donald Trump in his primetime address regarding the 2020 election. You know what this idiot did? He actually ended up showing that it was Russia that actually tried to intervene to help him win the election. Yep. He's pretty stupid. Also, an update on the death of Kohen Wiley, the one-year-old shot and killed by police in Mississippi. Also, folks, earlier this week, we told you about William Lawrence, Democratic congressional candidate in Michigan, who made some comments regarding black elected officials that pissed off the CBC. Well, he joins us on the show to explain himself. With November's midterm elections approaching, Bishop William Barber will join us to talk about their focus to have 1,000 marches to the polls when it comes to voting. Also, this weekend in Atlanta, big rallies are planned to celebrate the life and legacy of Congressman John Lewis. We'll talk to Barbara Arnwine of the Transformative Justice Coalition. A federal judge has allowed key racial discrimination claims to move forward in a lawsuit involving former black McDonald's franchise operators. We'll talk to one of those former owners. Plus, an update on our 24-hour donation challenge to support the Harriet Tubman Museum and Educational Center in Cambridge, Maryland. We'll tell you how much we've raised. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Well, primetime Thursday night, the twice-impeached criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump delivered what's supposed to be a primetime address on voting irregularities in the 2020 election. Instead, it ended up being a 27-minute nonsensical rant on all sorts of topics. And then the teleprompter was just whooping his ass the entire time. Pretty hilarious to watch him slur through this speech with sheer stupidity. Watch.
Good evening. Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. Had transgender for everybody, men and women sports, crime ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us as a nation, but not anymore. This week it was announced that inflation saw the largest monthly decline in more than 6 years. Just happened. It was just given out. The media reported it, and we accept it. The best in 6 years. The tax cuts in our great, big, beautiful bill are saving hardworking families thousands and thousands of dollars, like with the provisions, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, along with the interest deduction on a loan used to purchase a car, millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well. The government strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job, and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela, and that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls, and yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. Demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. Could I have your photo, please? Photo, voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt.
Texas, Nicole Robinson, political law attorney and strategist, joining us from D.C. Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show out of Detroit. That was a whole bunch of rambling, Nicole. It was just blah, 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 blah. And here's how bad it was. Today, Fox News made literally no mention of the speech. Even they knew it was batshit crazy.
You know, they should just tag this whole speech for misinformation because that's all it was. President Trump said that we were going to be so shocked by this speech, but these were the same lies that he has been spewing since 2016, okay? There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Non-citizens are not voting in our elections, and dead people are not waking up to go vote. The 2020 election was one of the most audited, litigated elections in modern American history. And that was from President Trump's own people, and they found nothing. So we're supposed to believe that after all this time, the people that he put in place to investigate this were running some covert operation, and now they uncovered all this evidence. None of this is believable. And if the American public thinks this is true, then they should be ashamed of themselves.
Matt?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to listen to the speech. I read an article about it, but I think Nicole's exactly right. And what I was thinking as I was watching it is obviously just how far politics have degraded in our country. Just the fact that he can get on and continue to repeat lies, and there's literally no recourse for it. There's no consequence for it. And especially some of the things that he said regarding China. My understanding that there was information that China had looked into, certain voting information, but never actually used it to interfere. But those are the kinds of things that get said and that get legs and run. And the problem with this president is just no matter what he says, there's literally no recourse for the brazen lies, and it's just stoking his base and trying to, undermine the elections. That's all this is about. It's about setting the framework to call into question the elections when the Republicans inevitably lose, and that's what this is.
Michael?
Yeah, Roland, this is more nonsense from Trump and trying to set a foundation to somehow seize voting machines to spread doubt in the 2026 midterm elections that he knows is going to be a wipeout for Republicans. So I'm glad NBC and ABC had a journalistic integrity not to show this nonsense yesterday. He's being beaten up on cable news this morning. Morning Joe had a good fact check on this. So, and the documents he was talking about don't make the claims that he was stating about China and different things of this nature. So this is more nonsense from Trump. So we have to be vigilant and get the correct information out. And if your vote didn't matter, why are Trump and many Republicans working so hard to suppress your vote?
Well, again, his lips are moving, so you know he was lying, and that's par for the course for the most corrupt individual to ever occupy the Oval Office. All right, folks, let's talk about a story out of Michigan. Well, earlier this week, I told you about Michigan congressional candidate William Lawrence raising the ire of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC after some comments he made on a podcast about black political leaders. Here's what he said.
If you have concluded that there is a problem with racist policing in the U.S., then we implore you to consider that those police departments, they see a connection with the Israeli project. And so we think you should too. And we think that you should also see a connection with and identify with, the Palestinian freedom struggle. The other piece, the last thing I'll say about just to respond to your question, that is like this interesting factor, and it is related to the question of the moral authority of kind of the black freedom struggle, is that it's very clear that Biden's re-election campaign, the orientation is the black vote. I mean, there's a kind of calculation that I think they've made from the start, but that's clear. It's clearer than ever. They're like, all right, I don't know, we've probably lost, the so-called Arab vote and the Muslim vote. I hate the way they talk about these kind of reductionist demographic categories, but maybe we can get the black vote. And so the fact that Biden gave this commencement address at Morehouse College, which was pretty painful to watch as a black person, as a black leftist, really the Morehouse administration so in such a crass way kind of lend its platform to Biden in a way that was it's just so cynical. The move by the Biden administration it's so cynical to say, we know that the majority of Americans want a ceasefire. We know that young people in particular are absolutely appalled by U.S. support for Israel. But this place, which is kind of the crown jewel of historically black colleges, the fact that Biden can give this commencement address is a gesture toward the notion that this is a progressive administration. And so that is something for us to grapple with, actually, like recognizing that it's not just that we recognize the significance of the kind of political and moral, if you will, significance, or the political significance of the moral authority, and credibility of the Black freedom struggle. It's not just that we recognize that, it's like Powell recognizes that, Biden recognizes that, the White House recognizes that, and therefore that is a contested space that we need to show up to.
I mean, how do you feel? What do you think is the trajectory as a millennial Black leftist? It's not something I can talk too much about because I'm white and it's not my struggle. That being said, like the extent to which the older generation of Black political leadership are such of a pillar, frankly, for establishment, capitalist, imperialist, American power through their role, as this kind of traditionalist, establishmentist pillar of the Democratic Party, it's a big problem. It's a big problem for left politics in this country, and it gets us every single time, and it really defangs the white left, puts us in impossible positions. Really, it's very effective politically, and so I don't know. I'm curious, but we're also seeing now that unfortunately. Don't want anyone to vote for Trump, but like young Black people are falling away from the Democratic Party, and the support is not showing up in the same way. We'll see what happens in November.
Once those remarks were reported, this is how the Congressional Black Caucus PAC responded. They posted this tweet to the HuffPost story. They said anyone supporting William Lawrence should denounce his hateful remarks and withdraw their support. Michiganders deserve better. Now, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries was asked about this in his news conference on Monday. This is what he said.
With the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus,
y'all had that radio ad?
Chair of the PAC, but those comments were brought to my attention, and they are deeply disturbing.
Thank you. Have you had the chance to meet with Brad Linder?
Now, that was, of course, his response, and already, of course, opponents of him jumping on this. This is a ad that Rolling Sea Action Fund, which is tied to the Congressional Black Caucus Political Action Committee, they dropped this radio ad in that race.
William Lawrence, a candidate for Congress here in Michigan, actually said that Black political leaders are
a big problem. It's a big problem for left politics in this country.
A big problem, William? You can't be serious. This is the same Will Lawrence who claims to be a progressive, but he campaigned against Democrats and was part of a movement that helped Trump win Michigan, is now pointing the finger at Black leaders because they
defangs the white left and puts us in, impossible positions, really.
Yeah, you heard that right. Well, here's a reminder for William Lawrence. The same leaders, Black leaders, that have fought and bled for this country and this party are not a big problem. Except now, maybe for you. Michigan deserves better. Paid for by Rolling Sea Action Fund, RollingSea.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Rolling Sea Action Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
All right, folks, joining us now is Lawrence, co-founder of the Sunrise Movement and a candidate for the Democratic nomination in Michigan's 7th Congressional District. William, glad to have you on the show. First and foremost, when you were talking about these Black pillars in politics, who specifically were you talking about?
I painted with too far broad a brush, and that's what I regret because, I wish to be critical of anybody in office who has supported our wars and the war crimes in Palestine abroad. But speaking in the way I did, I shouldn't have ventured in that territory because I said, this is not really my place to say. When you hear yourself saying that, it's time to close your mouth, and I wish I had left it there. But I'm a strong critic of our foreign policy. And I have and will be critical of anybody who votes in favor of spending trillions of dollars on wars abroad while we can't afford housing and healthcare here at home. But the point I made certainly didn't reflect what I truly believe, which is that we need to build a strong multiracial anti-war movement to set our priorities straight as a nation. That's why I was carrying on this conversation with a Black guest about his organizing to organize, especially young Black people, in support of Palestine.
But when you say that it really defangs the white left and puts us in impossible positions, what are those impossible positions?
Really, the meaning there was that if we have an anti-war movement that is majority white, that's going to be a problem in a diverse country, because the most effective political movements in our country's history have been multiracial movements, and many of them have had, strong Black leadership at the forefront. And so because I was talking to my guest about, his work on the so-called Black left to organize young Black people, I counterposed that, with that which we who are white, the ways in which we cannot, do this effectively without having a multiracial movement. But again, a white left is not a project I'm interested in building. I don't consider myself to be part of a white left. I'm here to build a multiracial democracy that can actually live up to our country's promises. And that's why I'm committed to working across the boundaries of race and class so that we can do that together.
Well, I dare say that if I look at progressive politics over the last, let's say, 50, 60 years, you've had African Americans really leading that more than the white left. One of the issues that we've seen is that many folks who are white and Democratic have not been wanting to fully embrace progressive ideals. It doesn't mean that you don't have members of the Congressional Black Caucus who others may criticize as being pro-Israel, as being pro-capitalism and things along those lines. But I guess what still jumps out at me, what defanging the white left, when I think about the white left, I think about folks who were supporting Senator Bernie Sanders, and some of those folks then were supporting Donald Trump. And you have this sort of back and forth where you've had African Americans often challenging the white left, saying, hey, where are you when our issues are on the table?
I think that's completely right. And, the fact of the matter is that, most white elected officials in Congress are actually Republicans. So there's also that matter, is that they're completely on the opposite side of the issues and the values that you and I share and agree upon. So again, this was in the context of a 10-part series that was examining different angles of our foreign policy and the need for a stronger anti-war movement. This episode was specifically focused on the way that these issues are playing out in the Black community, which I was discussing with my guest. But to sound as if I was saying that, certainly my intent was never to say that Black elected leaders are uniquely culpable in our foreign policy around the world, because that is not the case. And in fact, as you said, there is plenty of blame to be shared, and much of it is to be shared by white elected leaders who have been, responsible for our various misadventures around the world.
Control room, get the bite ready. When I interviewed Yank Yeager 2023 or early 2024, he was highly critical of then President Joe Biden. One of the guests in your podcast said that Joe Biden wasn't progressive. And I remember in my interview with Jank, he held up that how he saw, in terms of who he saw really as the model progressive or the model progressive candidate for the far left, or whatever you want to call it, was Senator John Fetterman. Listen to this.
How does Beto O'Rourke lose to Ted Cruz by 2.5 points? Comes back. Same Beto, same fire breather, same passion, same hard campaigner, same big fundraiser, loses to Greg Abbott by 11 points.
Yeah. No. So first of all, Beto, not a fire breather. Look.
Well, come on, Jay. My goodness, how much? It's not like Beto was a passive dude compared to other Democratic candidates.
Yeah, I know, but Roland, we're talking about a different level here. So let me explain what I mean. So when you say paid family leave, for example, that sounds boring. And then people are like, hey, what is that? And if you go, hey, I'm in favor of it, you're not going to get the 84% animated. You might get them to go, oh, yeah, that makes sense, and I like that. But then that's if they hear, but most likely they will not hear. Here's how you say it to get people's attention. Why do Republicans hate moms? They claim to be pro-life, but they hate babies and moms. Now, everybody in the press, if you're as large as Beto O'Rourke was, would cover that story. And they say, oh, that's an outrage. How can you say that Republicans hate moms? Well, they won't even give them 12 weeks off. They won't give them a day off after they deliver a baby. It is true that they hate moms on behalf of corporations who are all paying them through campaign donations. But Democrats never say that. They never even go to the number one issue that they could use against Republicans, corruption. And the reason they don't go to that is because they also take corporate cash. So if you have a clean, progressive candidate, and this is the giant if, though, Roland, which is that the press pays attention to and is willing to hear out, and then the country will hear these. But you can't just whisper it. And Beto is not enough of a fire breather. He hired the same campaign manager as Joe Biden. When his campaign was over, she went to Joe Biden. These are super moderate consultants that advise all of their Democratic candidates, shh, don't be impolite. Are you nuts? Donald Trump already won the election. He's almost certainly going to win this next one. And he's the most impolite guy in America. So wake up, Democrats.
So the candidates you're describing, who are they? Like, for instance, right now, name me 3 candidates that have won statewide that fit your description of being this fire breather. If a Beto wasn't in that category, who?
So there's only one that comes close, and that is because several generations of Democrats have been taught and trained to be obedient, to be civil, do not cause any good trouble, do not cause any trouble at all, lay down and they'll let the Republicans run over you. On a state level, to give you the very specific question that you asked, the answer is John Fetterman. And he beat the hell out of Dr. Oz when he couldn't even speak, when he had a stroke and everybody saw he couldn't speak. Why did he beat the hell out of Oz? Because he was impolite, because he made fun of the brother 24/7. He crushed him. He was merciless. And if he hadn't had that stroke, he'd probably be the next president.
And got my iPad. This is Senator John Fetterman just a couple of days ago, warning that he would leave the Democratic Party if it turns its back on Israel. So, William, this is why I played that. Because I travel this country. I'm born and raised in Texas. I've lived in Chicago. I have been here in D.C. and Virginia. And again, I spend time all over this country talking to, giving the speeches to NAACP, Freedom Fund dinners, and others. And the reality is this here. Democrats cannot win, cannot get to 218 unless you actually have a coalition. And that coalition may not all be white left. They may not all be far progressive. They're going to be people who are coming from districts that are conservative or purple, or it's going to be a mix of this. And so you talked about, want to be a part of that coalition, but isn't part of this problem this view of, frankly, a lot of white progressives that, oh, if you're not this type of progressive, then you're not actually a real progressive?
I do think some people have that attitude, and we need to loosen up on that because we do have to win, and that is the top priority. But I believe that leaning into progressive issues are also a pathway to winning in some of these swing districts. In fact, I'm running in a swing district, which is a 50-50 district, one of the most competitive districts in the country that we need to win to flip the United States House this November. And we have polling that shows that of the 3 Democratic candidates in this race, I am the best positioned to win the general election by beating our Republican incumbent. The reason why is because I'm up 19 points with independent voters. And the reason why that is because I've been willing to take stands on issues that both parties have been unwilling to touch, like standing with community members who are fighting back against AI data centers, or calling to prosecute people who are implicated in the Epstein files. Both of those issues are deeply popular across the political spectrum, independent, Democratic, Republican. You can call it progressive, you can call it whatever you want. But those are issues that I've been focused on because I'm a coalition builder and I'm a listener. And those are issues I've heard people deeply concerned about. And that is putting us in strong position to go win this general election on November 3rd after the primary on August 4th.
When you say progressive issues, if you had to say these are the top 5 issues that define a progressive, what are they?
I think it's standing with working class people against entrenched economic power. It's supporting.
Hold 1 second. I want you to unpack that. What does that mean? Stand with working class people against entrenched corporate power. What does that actually mean? What does that look like?
An example of that would be passing the PRO Act, which makes it easier for every worker and their coworkers to form a union, which is how we can all fight back and get the rights and dignity and job security that we deserve in the workplace. So that's one. I would say that Medicare for all is a priority for many progressives around the country, as well as me, because we believe that healthcare should be about delivering high quality healthcare to everybody rather than delivering profits to billionaire CEOs and investors in the health insurance companies who actually profit by denying our claims. I would say that opposition to endless wars around the world, and in particular, stopping to arm Israel so that we can end this genocide in Gaza and have a lasting peace in Israel and Palestine is obviously been a core priority over the last several years. And I don't know if it's progressive or not, but in some ways I think it's conservative because I want to conserve Michigan's water against AI data centers and conserve our communities. But I think there are also many progressive candidates around the country who have been willing to stand up to big tech and say no to these data centers because they can see how this is another avenue where very rich people in Silicon Valley and Wall Street are coming in and making decisions to decide the future of our communities without say so from the bottom up. And that's true whether it's in Mason, Michigan, where it's mostly white people, or in Memphis, Tennessee, where it's mostly black folks. The thing we have in common there is that we all want to be able to determine the future of our own communities rather than have some rich people from Silicon Valley or Wall Street do it for us.
There were a lot of progressives who said Joe Biden is not a progressive. True or false?
A lot of people did say that.
Do you believe he was progressive?
I think he did a good job of bringing progressives into his administration. I was a supporter of, and let me just tell you a little anecdote about that. I was a supporter of Senator Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in 2020. But when Bernie lost the primary in 2020, and I was at Sunrise Movement, we were among his core supporters. We got invited to something very important, which was called the Bernie Biden Unity Task Force, which was where supporters of Biden and supporters of Sanders came together to negotiate a general election agenda that could win in November and defeat Donald Trump. That's how Biden's Build Back Better agenda really emerged. It took some of the best ideas of what Bernie had been fighting for and then brought them in to Biden's platform. Not all of them, it was a compromise, but brought a lot of those ideas in. And then that gave progressives something real to fight for to go win and beat Trump in November. So I think that that's how politics works at its best is, we all stake out the positions and we fight for what we believe. And the primary process is one of the major places where that happens. But when it comes time for the general election and then the process of governing, we all have to come together to find common ground and focus on the greater enemy, which is defeating Donald Trump and the Republicans who are trying to absolutely destroy our democracy and our most basic rights and freedoms.
You just said greater enemy. And I sometimes believe that progressives are so pure that if they don't fully get all that they want, they would rather step away, sit out, spend lots of time condemning their own. And look, I totally understand. You push and push and push and push. You push as hard as you push to get as much as you can, but sometimes you don't get that. But I also believe that you can't do a damn thing if you're in the minority. And, do you believe that that's a problem that progressives also have in that they've also shot themselves in the foot by being such purists? I think back to 2016. And listen, I get people who were critical of Hillary Clinton, but it was Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. That was the choice. And I think a lot of progressives, a lot of white progressives were yelling and complaining on social and on media, other places, stayed at home, did not vote, and then ended up Trump getting there, and he got 3 Supreme Court justices.
I completely agree with you, Roland, that that's a problem. We got to understand that, there's levels to this. The primary is one stage of the process, and that's where we air out our differences and fight hard, fight with integrity for the direction that we think the Democratic Party should take. And then when it comes to the general election, that is when we have to go. And even if you don't like Clinton or Biden or Harris, as it were be, I voted for all 3 of those folks, even though I had major disagreements with all of them. And I encourage my friends and family and many others to do the same, because there is so much at stake, and we cannot afford to allow Trump and the Republicans to win because of their agenda. So I do agree that there are times that has happened. And I've been one of those people who has been working to say, hey, look, folks, there's no purity in this. We have to be able to accept what some call the lesser of 2 evils, if you want to see it that way, when it comes time for November elections, because the Republicans are coming for it all. They're coming for it all. And we can't afford to give them an inch.
Questions from my panel. Michael, you first.
All right, William. So I've heard you talk about foreign policy some, and you've talked about funding the war, Israel against Palestine, things of this nature. But I haven't heard you talk about any foreign policy towards the continent of Africa, where 1.5 billion people live. We know USAID, the cuts from Doge, 780,000 people worldwide have died. A large portion of them are on the continent of Africa. So what policies do you have on your platform towards, or that you would support towards the continent of Africa?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So I believe we should stop arming not just Israel, but all human rights abusers. And that includes the United Arab Emirates, which has been supporting an absolutely atrocious conflict, which many have characterized as a genocide in Sudan. So I believe we've got to cut off the arms there in order to bring an end, or help bring an end to the terrible violence that's been taking place in Sudan. You also mentioned USAID. I'm here in East Lansing, which is a university town, and there's it has amazing international program. And so I actually grew up among people who were scholars and had a lot of experience being part of USAID or doing other kinds of cultural exchange on the continent of Africa. And it's just absolutely mind-blowing to me that USAID is something that unequivocally have been saving millions upon millions of lives. And at a time when we are just continuing to start more ridiculous wars around the world, most recently in Iran, we also eliminated the one thing that was unequivocally good and was helping to save people. Elon Musk got rid of that. So we need to restore that program and then continue to extend our hand to the world, and in a gesture of good faith and goodwill. So those are a couple that I would mention. And I do know also that some of my supporters are very concerned about what CENTCOM and AFRICOM is doing, our attempts to also extend the hand of our militarism into the African continent. And so we need to, again, have a foreign policy that is really grounded in dialogue, diplomacy, cultural and economic exchange on terms that are about mutual respect, rather than continuing to push the arms of our military and surveillance apparatus into more and more countries of the world, including on the African continent.
All right, thank you.
Matt, you're on mute.
Said I could be wrong, Mr. Lawrence, but I looked at the demographics of your congressional district. Is it correct that about 6% of your potential constituents are Black? Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. I ask because, candidly and respectfully, it seems a little bit like you got, kind of caught with your comments and are now walking it back. And it seems like that's a little bit of a political sacrifice you maybe thought you could make, considering how few people in your congressional district are Black. So my interest is in what has the reception been in the congressional district, and how can those potential constituents have trust that you're actually going to serve them and not think that they are, expendable.
The comments were 2 years ago, before I was ever even contemplating running for Congress, but they were recently reported. But what I'll say is that, I am glad to have done a lot of work before I was even running for Congress, alongside members of the Black community here in Lansing, especially my work for housing rights and to build more affordable housing, to protect tenants, to prevent evictions. And I've worked along, as part of multiracial organizations and supported Black leaders in that work in a variety of ways. And on the campaign trail, I've been deepening those relationships in various corners of the Black community here in Greater Lansing. And so a lot of people reached out after they heard the remarks. Folks lifted me up in ways that were very heartening and encouraging. Some folks said, yeah, you shouldn't have gone there. You shouldn't have said that, but we know who you are. We know that that's not your values. That's not who you are. Some people said, I agree with part of what you said, but maybe you weren't the right one to say it. And some people just said, hey, I heard that there's some controversy, but I just want you to know I got your back. And then some people have said, I am concerned about the comments and I want to hear you explain yourself. So, I'm somebody who believes in accountability. I know that trust is earned. And I have done this over the course of my career as an organizer and coalition builder, showing up in spaces where, I may not be trusted because of, my background or who I am. And then you have to show people who you really are. And so this is another opportunity to do that. Certainly, I put my foot in my mouth a little bit. So it's an opportunity to do some repair, build some more trust. And I'm glad to have good friends to do that with. And we're going to keep on moving forward.
Nicole?
So, as you know, Black people have been the backbone of the Democratic Party. Without Black organizers and Black leadership, there would be no progressive Democratic coalition. And we are the ones that are dragging this party further to the left. Candidates like you get to exist because of strong Black leadership that we have had for decades. So can you talk about how you plan to support Black leadership if you win, and what you would do for your Black constituents if you win?
Yeah, absolutely. So just in reverse order, I'll say that for the constituents, plan to open a top-notch constituent service office that is accessible to all members of the community, and in this case, especially the Black community, for the sake of being able to connect people to all the different government resources that are available, cut red tape, do all the things that a congressional office is able to do. I really want to be able to deliver more resources for the housing-related groups that I've worked alongside here in Lansing. I was just at a forum last night at a community center that has done amazing work to create pathways into home ownership, doing all kinds of work with people who have been renters, especially in the African-American community, and then working for them to become homeowners. They are doing amazing work. They just need a lot more resources. So I want to be able to deliver those resources. And then when it comes to DC, I know that one of the top priorities for the Black delegation in Congress right now, as well as a top priority for me, is to fight for a renewed Voting Rights Act. Because what we've seen since this Calais decision, it's just a brazen attack on the principle of equal and proportional representation, which the Voting Rights Act had, enshrined for the last 50 or so years. And we're not going to be able to pass it just like the same way because the Supreme Court has declared it unconstitutional. So there's work that has to be done at the level of the court. There's going to have to be work done at the level of legislation. And if we need to, there will need to be a constitutional amendment to ensure that equal and proportional representation for all people in this country is ensured. And that includes equal and proportional representation for the Black community around this country.
Last question I have for you, and that is this here. If you are elected, if Democrats win control of the House, would you vote for Hakeem Jeffries to be Speaker of the House?
Yes, I would.
Okay. All right, William Lawrence, well, we appreciate you joining us, answering the questions, and good luck in the campaign. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, folks. Let's talk about what took place in Mississippi. Kohen Wiley, 1-year-old, shot and killed by Santobia cops there. That took place on June 14th in a Walmart after a call for an alleged shoplifting. The boy's mother was holding Wiley while seated in a vehicle exiting the parking lot when the officer opened fire. Community members and local leaders have been demanding investigators release any footage of what happened on that particular day. Founder of the Senatobia Committee for Accountability and Transparency, Patrick Lumumba, joins us right now. Patrick, glad to have you here. What's the latest?
How you doing, Roland?
Doing great.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Glad to have you here.
I wanted to be a part of your show. Just hate on in such circumstance.
So what is the latest? Has been in any movement whatsoever in this case?
Well, not any movement as far as I'm concerned, as far as ascertaining justice. We have a stiff wall of what we call white supremacy codified conduct here that we're trying to peel through. So as far as getting justice for Kohen Wiley, it's very little movement, but we are organizing to apply more pressure.
Is the protest or the boycott of Walmart, is that continuing?
Well, actually, it was a one-day type deal that happened today. That was not organized by SCAT, but it was organized by other protesters that have been protesting alongside of us. But we are planning. We are in the making of planning a more protracted approach and boycott of the Senatobia Walmart.
How would you characterize the community since this has taken place? Has this been something that has brought folks together around this central issue?
Most definitely, it has, in a way that I haven't seen since 1987. I grew up here, Roland. I lived my whole life basically in Senatobia, Mississippi. And it has galvanized our people to the point where we were in 1987, where we had serious boycotts in this town, because this is not an isolated incident in this town. This town had been an epicenter of systemic racism, and we are here now in 2026, and the people are galvanized, and they most definitely seeking justice for Kohen Wiley.
What do you want folks outside of Senatobia to do? What type of support have you had? Specifically, you've got the national president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, who lives right there in Mississippi. Have you seen the NAACP state conference, a national body, or other national organizations come to Senatobia or offer their support?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have been intricately involved and engaged with the NAACP. The NAACP on the state level had become very involved. The executive director, Charles Taylor, had become very involved. We have people, Kabir Kareem, with the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus here in Mississippi. They have become very involved, very engaged. We have yet to hear really from Benny Thompson, but we do expect, and I have gotten word that he is backing us, in this effort. But we have a statewide involvement with our strong Black organizational leadership in this state.
What would you, for folks across the country, what would you like for them to do to stand with y'all?
To deposit in some form or another. Make a deposit here, because where we at right now, Roland, is a Black baby was killed with a state-sponsored bullet. Absolute lack of accountability. And I think it's about Kohen Wiley, but it's actually bigger than Kohen Wiley, because Black humanity is at stake right now. I mean, these people have went as far as to kill a Black child with a state-sponsored bullet. So I think the humanity of Black people is at stake. And I've been on record as to say and quote that we having our own Emmett Till moment today, right here in Senatobia, Mississippi, in Mississippi, the heart of the South. We having our own Emmett Till moment. And I think the universe has gave us another opportunity as Black people to stand for our own humanity right here. I mean, if we allow people to take our children, state-sponsored bullets, tax-paid bullets that we pay for, then what level of humanity are we expressing? So it's not a Mississippi thing. It's not a Senatobia thing. It's a Black people thing right now. And that's why SCAT was formed organically, to give us the political apparatus to begin to engage this system of basically racism, white supremacy, and systemic racism. So I'm asking people all over the nation to become involved with what we got going on here in Mississippi, because Mississippi is still burning. Mississippi is still burning, and we're going to have to put out some of these fires.
If people could reach you, where do they call, email, what do they do?
Okay, you just get we have a SCAT social media page, and like I said, this organization is very new and organic. We created this organization to deal specifically with this town, but also to deal on a broad level with the systemic racism that we've been facing, not just in San Antonio, not just in Mississippi, but across this nation. So contact us through SCAT. We have a social media page.
Is that SC? Is that SC? SCAT?
SCAT, yes, San Antonio Committee for Accountability and Transparency.
Okay, and you said social media page. Which platform?
Right now, it's just Facebook.
All right, a control room.
But we'll become more extensive.
Control room. Pull the Facebook up page before I let Petra go, please. And so I want to show that so folks can see that where they can communicate directly with y'all. You talked about. So what's the next action y'all plan to take there in Senatobia?
Well, the next action that we plan to take, Roland, we plan to go back before the city council. We have had some very volatile confrontations with this city council. Like I said, we're in Mississippi, and Senatobia had become a bedrock, for this white supremacist political resistance. So we have had to literally take siege of the city hall, to get our points across to the city government here. But we will be constantly in front of the city council. This Tuesday, we'll be back in front of the city council, our organization, SCAT, to apply more pressure. And like I said, we're organizing with state people all across the state about formulating a actual boycott of Walmart, which we think is basically in compliance with the Senatobia Police Department. And, what other reason would they withhold the surveillance video? We need that video. We have the MBI, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, that has a so-called investigation that being conducted now, and they're investigating from the standpoint of justifying the killing, justifying the killing, and we want them to investigate the fact that a cop pulled a fatal weapon in a shoplifting car. And that's never happened. I mean, the worst thing that can happen to you, as long as I've been in Senatobia, Mississippi, Walmart policy, if you stole anything, and this still is an alleged shoplifting. Nobody was ever charged for shoplifting. The worst thing that can happen to you, the shoplifting in Walmart, is that you get walked out in handcuffs. And that's the only thing that Officer Hunter Foster should have been pulling out that day was some handcuffs. But whatever compelled him to pull the most fatal weapon in his arsenal out and kill young baby Kohen behooves me. But one thing about it, we looking for justice, and justice don't come in the form of money. Money is not a proper compensation for black life, and we looking for real justice.
All right, Patrick Lumumba, we surely appreciate it. Pull the page up, y'all. This is the SCAT Facebook page, and so y'all can follow them right there. Patrick, we appreciate it. Keep us abreast of what happens next.
Thank you, Roland.
Folks, going to a break. We come back. We're going to talk with Bishop William Barber about his call for 1,000 marches nationwide to the polls. We'll have that conversation. We'll also hear from Barbara Arnwine as they're planning the John Lewis events this weekend. Mass rally taking place Saturday in Atlanta. We'll be streaming it right here on the Black Star Network as well. Plus, George Johnson, the pioneering hair care CEO, laid to rest in Chicago. We'll play for you what John Rogers, founder of Arrow Capital Management, had to say at his funeral at Trinity United Church of Christ. Lots to hear, lots to cover in our second half of Roland Martin Unfiltered. We'll be back in a moment. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. As $4 and 19 cents a month, 13 cents a day. That would raise $1 million to offset the cost of what we do every single day on this show. Not just this show, but also the other shows on Black Star Network. We've got 5 other shows. We're adding a 6th show in August. And so your support is critically important. A lot of y'all are on YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now, hit the like button, y'all. We should be over 1,000 likes every single show, okay? And this is important because, again, we don't have millionaires and billionaires cutting us checks. I told y'all, of all entertainers I know, only 2 have actually made a monetary donation to this show. And so we cover black issues. We center black folks. We talk about stuff that other folks do not talk about. And so your support is critical. Please support us via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. It's also for credit cards. Of course, checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandSMartin.com or Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Henry, go ahead and go to a wide shot. Just so y'all know, I'm not joking. Literally, I went to the post office come on, no, give me another shot. So all of this is mail that we have. All of this, I went to the post office, and so I got y'all. These are the people who don't do PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo. And so if y'all send a payment, hey, give me some time, because y'all know I got to sit here and I got to open all this stuff and deposit it, but I appreciate it. And so thanks for y'all support of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, Russell Vought got called out in the House the other day, and there was a Senate turn, and man, did it get a little funky on the Senate side. This is what Senator Elizabeth Warren, the creator of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, had to say to Trump's acting head of the CFPB.
Now, how do you take a consumer agency and turn it into a cash grab for corporate cheaters? Acting Director Vought has figured out a way. Take a look at just some of the examples of what he's done over the past 18 months. Because it got caught scamming its customers, Navy Federal Credit Union has been ordered by the CFPB to return $80 million to the service members who had been cheated. Director Vought came in and said, oh, that's okay. Navy Federal can keep the $80 million, and the people who got cheated just don't get any money back. J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo are a few of the bank owners of Zelle who got sued by the CFPB for allowing people who use Zelle to get scammed out of $870 million. Mr. Vought dropped the charges, and the people who got cheated, they get nothing. Regions Bank had settled a case with the CFPB, and the bank had agreed to refund consumers $141 million. Vought dropped the settlement, and the customers got nothing. Capital One was sued by CFPB for cheating its customers out of $2 billion. And once again, Trump and Vote said, keep the money. And the people who got cheated got nothing. Look, it's a long list, but the important thing to remember here is the people who got cheated are millions of Americans who are just trying to get by. And the people who got away with cheating them were giant companies that, in many cases, had already agreed to make refunds to the people they cheated.
Well, folks, it got a little funky as well when Senator Raphael Warnock challenged Vaught.
We had a simple ask: show your work. Publicly disclose the data and the analysis to justify the CFPB's position that the medical debt rule was unnecessary or unlawful. Since you didn't respond, I'll ask you now, how many Americans were projected to have their medical debt wiped from their credit scores by the CFPB's medical debt rule, which you overturned?
I don't know, but the rule was unlawful.
The answer is 15 million. Medical debt can ruin credit scores, which can make it impossible for folks to ever buy a home. Do you know how many more mortgages consumers would have been able to afford each year if you hadn't overturned the rule?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
So the answer is 22,000. So 22,000 mortgages that consumers would have been able to afford, 15 million Americans who were set to have their medical debt wiped from their credit scores. I've seen this up close in the state of Georgia, and the impact, the real human costs behind the very cold and clinical language about statutory authority, which I think you do have, questions that you could have raised. CFPB, by its nature, is advocating for everyday consumers, and I don't see how any of your actions suggest that you've been advocating for the people that I represent. It seems to me that this shouldn't be a partisan issue. People on both sides of the aisle know that medical emergencies can happen to anybody. They can happen to anyone. We've seen that up close in this very body over the last few weeks. But thanks to you, there are now families who cannot buy a house, they're hounded by debt collectors, and they're denied business loans, all because they got sick. Director Vogt, you've spent the last 18 months decimating the CFPB and its consumer protections, and I think families across America will be better off when you're gone. I'd like a response to my letter. Thank you.
Maryland Senator Angela Brooks, she also made it clear she was not satisfied with Vaught's leadership.
Director Vogt, I have been waiting to have the opportunity to come back face to face with you to ask for an explanation for what I regard as absolutely depraved, I use that word again, and draconian actions to decimate our public institutions, politicize federal grant programs, to stall funding for NIH and for CDC public health programs, harming our research institutions, dismantling the CFPB. And I have to tell you, I couldn't wait to get here on behalf of the 160,000 federal employees in my state. The actions taken toward our federal employees has been evil, absolutely evil. And it is the most galling aspect of what I regard as shameful tenure at the OMB as director has been your outright animosity and blatant hostility toward our federal workers. And I haven't made this up. In fact, I'm going to read your own words that you famously said without remorse. You said, we want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly regarded as the villain. This is so evil. And the 150,000 federal workers who are in my state who come together, these are the patriots of our country, who've worked, many of them, for decades. They didn't care whether the president was a Democrat or Republican. They are here to serve the American people, and they will not forget how they were treated and what was said, and neither will I. And in fact, one Marylander who lost his federal job said the following: I can't tell you how terrifying it is to be a parent of 2 children faced with the thought that you cannot provide for your family. And so I ask you, is that the kind of trauma that you were talking about? Did you intend to sow terror for parents who need to provide for their families? Is that the kind of trauma that you were anticipating?
Senator, I've explained those comments on numerous occasions. I was referring to bureaucracies and not the career civil servants that do the job. Many of those bureaucracies are weaponized against the American people. We've taken steps to deal with that, but as it pertains to civil servants, I have a very high regard for them and the work that they do.
Well, I think the words speak for themselves. I really do. I don't think anybody can say that combination of words and have it be explicable. It is inexplicable.
Well, like I say, they held him the task. And as I said yesterday, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they've returned $21 billion to regular ordinary Americans over the last 14 years. But Republicans have despised this agency from the beginning. Bishop William Barber with Repairs of the Breach joins us right now. Bishop, this right here is one of the issues that you often talk about in terms of these corporations, how they bear down on people, how Donald Trump and these Republicans are allowing these companies to get away with it. As Elizabeth Warren laid out in her testimony, they have returned millions and billions of dollars back to companies, and Donald Trump allowed them to get away when they were fined. Oh, y'all ain't got to pay the money back. Let them off the hook, and regular folk get screwed.
This is evil, as you said, and it is systemic evil. It is what, from a moral perspective, we call wickedness. When you actually turn the government against the people, and you turn the government against the people in ways that hurt the people who need it the most, the worst. And there's no way that you can get this change but through the way in which Trump got his power, and the Congress got their power, and the Senate got their power to ignore it. And that is by having what I like to call a massive movement vision vote born from the states up, because we have to remember that this president got his power with about 2 million vote margin in a country where 90 million people didn't vote. The United States House of Representatives is the majority it is because of 7,000 votes in a country where 90 million people didn't vote. And we have the power to begin, not in, but in the midterms, to begin to shift. And I'm not being partisan, I'm talking about just people using their votes. And this is the kind of thing that 2 things must happen. This kind of information must come out, but also any politician that's running needs to take one more step and say, if I had the majority, this is what we would do. You know what I'm saying, Roland? They have to go to that next level. Critique, make it how blatant it is, but then flip and talk about how much different it would be in exact terms if, in fact, they had power.
And that point there, because what you're seeing here, you are literally seeing Trump and Republicans allow for massive corruption to go on. The looting, I said just the flat out raping and pillaging of the federal government is happening before our very eyes. I mean, the stock trades, the insider trading, the giving of loans to his family. Now his Truth Social, they're going to be selling to Wall Street advanced access to Trump's Truth Social posts that will allow them to make bets on Wall Street on public policy. He's announcing on Truth Social. Just gross corruption the Supreme Court allowed. And I think the argument that has to be made is that if you are Democrats or if you are a conscious Republican, what you should be doing is going to the American people saying they're getting rich and they're screwing you and they're not looking out for you, whether you're inner city or rural.
It doesn't make any difference. This is worse than Citizens United. I mean, this is actual thievery and robbery. And then, Roland, is something else. It is breaking the government in a way
because they did it with the tax cuts. It is breaking the government in a way that whoever takes over, if you don't stop this soon, will not have revenue to do the things that need to be done and to move the government forward. I mean, this is quite sinister. But you know, they said that's what they were going to do. Steve Bannon and others said, we are going to destroy what they call the administrative states. And what they're doing is destroying it and then making people rich in the process. Not only with this war. Who do you think is making money during this war? The oil people, all down the Gulf states. Who is the major backers that we found out through research of things like religious nationalism, so-called Christian nationalism, and the thought that that oil money has a direct line. And so the very people that plotted and planned to put this person in office and then to give someone like Steve Miller and others the ability to put people in office who are acting with draconian intent. This is Machiavellian, Roland. They're not playing. They go in on day one and they have a checklist of everything they're going to do, everybody they're going to move, every program they're going to cut, and everybody that's going to be paid. And we have to make that clear, because that's one thing that Americans, regardless of race, creed, color, and sometimes party, get upset about, is when they know and can tangibly see that they're being robbed and pillaged and stolen from.
You have talked about, and you and I discussed this numerous times over the last several years, that marches have to have a purpose. And it has to lead to something. Having a march just because makes no sense. I remember, look, I was at the Million Man March when it took place in 1995. Then I remember that the 10th anniversary march. And one of the things that I said then was, there's no need for everybody to come to D.C. I said, you can have a D.C. event, but you need to have events happening different places all around the country. Everybody talks about August 28th, 1963, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. What folk don't remember is that there were some 600 activations around the country on the same day. Not everybody came to Washington, D.C., and you're making the point that if folks are going to be planning marches in August, September, October, it really should be planning marches to the polls, or before even marches to the polls, planning marches to voter registration.
That's right. Planning marches to have voter registration and having rallies that help people to understand what's going on. Listen, 600 actions going on that day, and 600 movements were happening around the country. We cannot grandiose and have this nostalgia about 63 without understanding. The movement had been broken apart, but they had what would be the 64 Civil Rights Act had been proposed. And what Bayard Rustin said is, we got to pull everybody together to make sure this legislation doesn't get stopped by Strom Thurmond and Jesse Ham. And they pulled unions, they pulled civil rights groups together. Now, there were some flaws. They left women out, so forth and so on. But it was an agenda. That's why it was for jobs and freedom. It wasn't just one issue. They had an agenda. They wanted to raise the minimum wage by 75%, index it with inflation, raise more money for public education. They wanted fair housing to be in the Civil Rights Act, which is why later we had to have the Fair Housing Act. They wanted voting rights in the Civil Rights Act. They wanted non-discrimination in federal contracts. There was a clear program, and it wasn't an election year. And to talk about this is not to knock people, it is to help us understand. And in fact, on that day, Diane Nash and other people went to Selma, Alabama, to plan what would later become the Selma to Montgomery March. What we're saying and what we've announced with 30 some other groups and organizations like the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, AME Zion Church, others have joined us, is that what we need is to have, on the first day of early voting and through election, marches to the polls in the states. That's where the power is. The power is of such that if you turn out 10 to 20% of infrequent voters, particularly poor and low-wage voters, in the states, you can fundamentally shift and overcome much of the gerrymandering that's been done to deny power. But you can't do that if you take $2 million, however million, pour it into people coming to DC. We need that money to go into buses and vans and organize. So we're calling for 100 days from August the 3rd, from July 27th, all the way through Election Day, 100 days of mobilization. People can do what they want to do. This is not a knock, but it is about strategy. Imagine what would happen if on the first day of early voting, you had 1,000 marches. 1,000 of them all across the country. You had neighborhood councils marching. You had fraternities, sororities to the polls, and in states, churches to the polls. In states where they have same-day registration and early voting. Imagine how conspicuous that would be and how it would begin to give people courage to overcome their fears. We're going to have to be conspicuous because Trump and his people are not through messing with this election. And so it makes sense. This is an election year. Now, if we're going to march on, we should have marched before the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act fully. We should have marched when they were passing the big ugly bill. Some of us did. Some sat back and didn't. We tried in 2020 to push Biden and Harris to pass the bill on COVID, to pass the John Lewis voting rights bill, and to pass living wages. Some said, no, we don't want to do that. Some national groups said no. That's what's curious to me. Why is it that you wait until after there's been a problem and then you want folk to come to DC rather than a strategy that says, let's all come together and march to the polls? So we're calling for a minimum of 1,000 marches to the polls on the first day of early vote in your state, following the law. The law firm of Forward Justice, Caitlin Swain, has vetted this. Harry Daniels, a renowned civil rights lawyer, has vetted this. We have now over 30 organizations that are coming in, and more and more and more, because people see the wisdom of it. If I have $10,000 in August, should I take that $10,000 and pay for a bus or two to go to DC in the middle of the heat? Or should I take that $10,000 and put it into a voter mobilization plan for the first day of early voting that in some places, Roland, is going to come less than 20 days after the last day of August? Some of it's early. Some of these votes are early. And what I know is, I'll give you one example. In 2008, President Obama lost the election in North Carolina, but he won doing same-day registration early voting because we focused on early voting. We never endorsed him, but we endorsed putting 1.5 million new bodies at the polls. And he lost on election day, but then won because of the margin that was pushed during early voting. This is about strategy. We're not playing here. This is not a game. This is not about somebody just doing a speech, somebody just telling us that people are attacking our voting rights. We already know that. This is not about just showing unity. Let's show unity by marching to the polls. On the first day, 1,000 marches at a minimum, and then keep on doing it through that. Imagine churches, last thing, imagine if a church says everywhere starting in that congregation and everywhere 2 to 3 miles around that congregation, we're going to march to the polls. We're going to be conspicuous. We're not going to violate any laws. We're not going to take campaign materials to the polls that you're not supposed to do, but we're going to put our bodies on sidewalks, in the streets. We're going to do it legally, and we're going to say, our votes matter. And what if, lastly, we say we're marching for not just what we're against, but what we're for? If we're for ending war, if we're for living wages, if we're for health care, if we're for restoring the Voting Rights Act federally, not just state by state, if this is what we're for, that's why we're marching to vote. And that's all that we're saying. And it makes sense. It's about strategy if you're really serious about challenging what's going on in our country right now.
Questions from our panel. Nicole, you first.
So we've seen the Trump administration try to stop mail-in votes, promote gerrymandering, try to get DOJ to threaten election officials. And now President Trump is trying to say that if you register to vote, China is going to steal all your information. They've also talked about sending armed federal agents to the polls, even though we know that's illegal. So, I mean, how are you getting voters to stay encouraged, to know that they're going to be safe at the polls and that their votes count? there's a lot of hurdles to overcome here. So what are we doing about this?
I'm glad you asked that question, because the Bible says there is, in the multitude of counsel, there's safety. How did we do it in the civil rights movement? We walked together. We didn't go alone. And that's why we need to do this, so that people can see it's okay. They need to see a conspicuous effort of bravery. We need to go. People went in the face of worse in our past. We need to go. We need to keep coming. We need to have the lawyers marching with people, going to the polls. The last thing we need to do is not have this and have people going individually by themselves, because it's more easy to discourage them. Imagine if people that are afraid was to see the news on early voting go something like this. News report, we just heard that in North Carolina, there are 90 marches going on to the poll. Wait a minute. We just heard the same thing is happening in Virginia. Wait a minute. The same thing is happening in Tennessee. Wait, we just heard in Ohio. Wait, we just heard in Pennsylvania. Imagine if that became the narrative. What that does, it begins to gin up people's courage. It's a movement, and people always want to be a part of a movement. We are also saying, take 100 days and plan and mobilize. Don't take 100 days and mobilize just to go to one march. Take this time now from July 27th and organize and plan and teach and make sure people know what the challenge is going to be. Make sure they have the IDs they need to have. Make sure they know about where early voting is. Right now in North Carolina, our legislature is trying to cut more early voting and trying to roll back. We know why they're doing that, because it has benefited Black and brown and poor and low-wage people more. Mm-hmm. So if we, just like when you have to massively come together to challenge injustice in other ways, what did we do when they shot people in the street? We went in the street together. What did we do when they're attacking people because of their sexuality? We go in the streets together because of immigration. They're attacking our votes. Let's not just go in the street together at one single place in D.C. Let's go in the street together in these states. We only change this through state up. State up voting changes D.C. D.C. marching just D.C. only has a day in D.C. And in fact, lastly, you know, Dr. King actually told us to do this. At the end of the speech that was entitled "Norma Said Never Again," that we call "I Have a Dream," what did he say? Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to Louisiana. That's what he said. He actually said that. So we ought to take that admonition seriously right now. We only change this country from the states up, not from the top down.
Matt?
My question is just, Reverend Dr. Barber, what do you think is the singular issue or the few issues that are going to be the strongest for getting people to be conspicuous and do that marching? We know people often say they don't feel like politics affects them, but obviously we're at an inflection point. So I'd like to see what you're hearing on the ground and what you think will move people.
Well, I certainly also want to ask people to go to Repairs of the Breach and click on the QR code and get more information and support this. But let me tell you, I think it's a combination of issues. For instance, we're using this, some people are using this term affordability. I don't think that's the term. I think people are poor and they're hurting because this administration has done everything to enrich people, but has not raised the minimum wage. That ought to be a reason. What do you want? Do you want a living wage? Everybody that lost their health care, that's what we ought to be mobilizing, because that's real. Everybody that lost their SNAP, that's real. Everybody that can hardly pay their light bills, that's real. Everybody, the women, 69 million women could potentially lose or have their vote affected by this so-called Save America voting piece. So what we do is you go straight down the list of what the grievances are, show people how they affect their lives, and say to people, this is happening. You don't even have to be partisan. This is happening because of who's in office. Now, the second thing is we can't do it alone. So politicians who are running that are serious about challenging things need to be very clear on, if they get power, what they will do. Not just, I'm against this, I'm against Trump. No. What will you, if you actually had control of the United States House of Representatives, what would happen in the first 25 days or the first 50 days? And then lastly, I still think that reminding people of the blood, sweat, and the tears that it cost us to have these rights is still a potent weapon if you frame it right. Because right now, if you don't get out to vote, and I'm talking about in the last election, some 600,000 African Americans didn't vote, some 1.2 million poor and low wage people didn't vote. Trump won by 183,000 votes. But if you don't move to vote, you are literally saying somebody can go down to your grandmama's grave and desecrate it, and you're going to sit there and not say a thing. It's how you frame it. So the economics, people, if you want change economically, if you want to live by healthcare, if you're tired of war, tired of seeing this war, an illegal war, immoral war, if you're tired of seeing people shot down in the street in the name of some strange form of protecting us from these dangerous immigrants, everybody that's impacted by those issues, that's how we say to folk, it may not be everything we have to do, but in a democracy, if you walk away from the vote, you cannot say you are serious about having fundamental change and the fight against policy violence.
Michael.
Reverend William Barber, my question is, right before you came on, Roland was showing clips from the Senate oversight hearing and Russell Vought, who is Trump's ombudsman. And we know Russell Vought is the architect of Project 2025 and also a proponent of the Unitarian executive theory, which deals with expanding the powers of the president and taking power away from Congress. So my question to you is, how are you connecting the unprecedented attack we see on African Americans, the attack on DEI, revoking affirmative action, refashioning the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to fight for white people's rights, white men's rights, things of that nature? How are you connecting this to Project 2025? Because all this is laid out there. And, I was talking about Project 2025 in 2023, and I had a lot of ignorant Black people telling me that Project 2025 was a Democratic hoax, okay? And it wasn't real. All right, so even though when you go and read it, and I downloaded it from the Heritage Foundation's website, it lists all the authors. They're all conservatives. They're all Republicans. So how are you connecting those dots to Project 2025?
Well, part of what we're saying, and on August 3rd, we're going to have we've been having a public pulpit in Washington, D.C., right in front of the White House, laying out issues to thousands of people online and those who come in person. We're having a massive one, the last one on August 3rd, to push people out, to lay out these issues for the public and connect the dots, particularly as it relates to building power and voting. And one of the things we have to help folk understand is that Project 2025 is ultimately about undoing the gains of the first and second Reconstruction and trying to make sure that a third Reconstruction never comes to exist. So one of the things we're beginning to do is talk about what should a third Reconstruction vision look like? Not just what they are doing, but what should we doing? Because we have to at least acknowledge this. From the bottom up, we built a plan and a vision of America to draw their people out. So if we're criticizing Project 25, what we also have to do is not just curse the darkness, but lay out what should be the counter, what should be our own Project 30 maybe, or Project 26 or Project 28. And on August 3rd, we're going to go in great lengths to lay that out as we call people to this 100 days of mobilization and 1,000 marches to the polls and more, because this must be about lighting the fire to stop the erosion of the gains of the second Reconstruction and to begin the push towards, the second Reconstruction, and to begin the push toward a third Reconstruction. And we have an entire third Reconstruction type resolution, policy-based, to say this is why we ought to be voting. This is what we ought to be fighting for, not just what we're fighting against. And I want to ask everybody to tune in. We're going to be rolling it live right here on the Black Star Network on August the 3rd, starting at 6:00 p.m. in the afternoon, August the 3rd, right in front of the White House, right there in Black Lives Matter, Wick Park. We're going to be calling folk to this 100 days of mobilization, 1,000 marches to the poll, the first day of early voting, because of what our vision is against this nightmare that we see existing right now.
All right, folks, if you will go to Repairs of the Breach website, you will get all the information on that. You can actually see that, again, beginning July 27th. That's the QR code right there on the website. We'll be also posting the graphic on posting it on all of our social media as well, so you can be aware of what's going on. Bishop Barber.
And Roland,
yep.
Can I say one thing?
Yep,
quick?
go ahead.
This does not substitute the training we're doing with 1,800 black men toward a massive texting program and micro touching of black men. This is in not a substitute, but it is an expansion and a continuation. You and I all believe everything we must do must be micro now, not macro. Micro, from the bottom up, from the states up, from the streets up, from the precincts up, from the corners up. If you're not doing that, I don't believe you're serious about really challenging what's going on right now.
Absolutely. Again, folks, go to my iPad. That's right. More Mondays Public Pulpit Coalition is going to be 100 days of mobilization, 1,000 marches to the polls beginning July 27th, and we'll be covering it all right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Bishop, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Quick break. We're going to talk. We'll come back. We'll talk to Barbara Arnwine about the action taking place this weekend, the rally that celebrates the life and legacy and the continuation of the work of the late Congressman John Lewis. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. About chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
6 years ago today, we lost Congressman John Lewis, a freedom fighter, activist, political office holder. Of course, he was well known as a civil rights leader, one of the biggest heroes of the 20th century. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader, dropped this video honoring the longtime congressman and civil rights stalwart.
Years ago today, we lost the conscience of the Congress and our dear friend.
Transformational force.
My brother in service and faith.
My mentor.
an American hero,
and my personal hero,
The legendary,
extraordinary,
iconic,
indomitable,
inspirational,
incomparable,
compassionate,
courageous, and determined
freedom fighter.
That is Congressman John Lewis.
John Lewis set an example for all of us.
I still can't believe I got to call him a colleague.
I mean, I actually got to share a cell with John Lewis, one of the great honors of my life.
While we remember and celebrate John Lewis year-round,
today we commemorate his life,
achievements, and continued legacy.
From being the youngest speaker at the 1963 March on Washington,
to leading the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday,
to serving in the United States House of Representatives.
John Lewis has never stopped fighting for justice,
equality, and the right to vote.
As a young black man serving in Congress, I know that my generation stands on the shoulders of giants like John Lewis.
John was a public servant through and through.
We honor him by carrying forward his legacy.
And carrying forward the legacy of John Lewis means getting into good trouble.
Necessary trouble.
I am constantly getting into good trouble.
standing up for our democracy and for our values.
Fighting in Congress against Donald Trump.
When he puts himself above the law.
Fighting against all the corruption and authoritarianism in America.
Fighting for our communities, serving our neighbors.
Like when we fought successfully to overturn Donald Trump's cuts to mental health and substance abuse funding.
Like pushing back against attempts to remove black representation from right here in Congress.
Fighting back against Trump's voter suppression agenda.
It's why I continue to speak out against the Supreme Court's attacks on the Voting Rights Act.
We will stand up, we will rise up, and we will
pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act
to protect every American's right to vote.
Fighting against corruption in our government and restoring trust in our institutions.
I'm getting into good trouble by making sure that every working person in this country gets a fair wage and good benefits.
Building a country that working people can afford.
My good and necessary trouble has included making surprise oversight inspections to ICE facilities.
Standing up to ISIS infringement on our rights.
Challenging unjust deportation policies and fighting to keep families together.
The struggle for justice did not end with John Lewis, and neither will our commitment to it.
We need to show up, we need to stand up, and we need to speak up.
Continuing the work to build a country where opportunity belongs to
every American.
This is especially important today.
My House Democratic colleagues and I
will keep on keeping on.
And we will never stop fighting
for justice,
equality, and voting rights
that Brother John fought and bled for.
In the pursuit
of a more perfect union.
Weekend in Atlanta, Congressman Lewis will be honored with the Good Trouble Lives On rally, focusing on civil rights, voting rights, democracy, faith, and of course, events begin across the nation today. The rally will take place at Atlanta at Big Bethel AME Church. We'll be streaming it live right here on the Black Star Network. Joining us now is Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Barbara, glad to have you here. Y'all have been holding these events, honoring Congressman Lewis, continuing his legacy. Take us through with these events that have been happening beginning today.
Well, it's so exciting, and thank you so much for having me on. We are making good trouble, especially after that speech last night, if you can call that. I call it a rant, an unhinged minute rant. But anyway, it is so important for all of us to understand the threat that's real to our democracy. So for that reason, this John Lewis celebration of his legacy and our commitment to continuing his legacy through our work is so key. Normally, we only do one day, the day of his passing. This is our 6th anniversary commemoration of his legacy. But this year, we're doing an entire weekend. We're doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're doing it under the rubric of teach, so people know what their rights are and are able to avoid all of this and horribly disenfranchising misinformation. We also are going to be doing on tomorrow what we call Reach on Saturday. And that's all about what Reverend Barbara was just talking about registering voters, getting people to check their voter registration, making sure those who are the most marginalized, their votes are under such great threat are able to vote, and calling back in the skippers. Yes, we're talking about all those 19 million people who voted in 2020 and sat out 2024. So we're really focusing on outreach, engagement, and making sure that people are involved. Then Sunday we're doing something we've never done before. We're focusing on what we call preach. We're asking every single church, every single synagogue today, every single mosque, every single temple to make sure that they have 100% voter registration. And so we're saying stop your regular service and say to your members, we're going to take some time right now to talk about John Lewis, to talk about voting, and we're going to have you check your voter registration on the Rock the Vote tool. We're going to have you register if you are unregistered, or if that tool says that you're no longer registered because you've been purged. And we're going to encourage you to go out and talk to family and friends to make sure they do the same thing. And we're going to also reach out to those who have moved recently, don't know if they moved from county to county or they moved from state to state. They haven't thought about the fact that they need to re-register. They don't understand what the laws are. So we want to reach out to them. We want to reach out to those who are formerly incarcerated to make sure that they have the opportunity to know what their rights are, to register and vote in their state. And if they can't, we want to make sure that people know precisely what their rights are. And we want to reach out to the unhoused. So many people are, just do not have a permanent home, but you don't have to have a permanent home in order to vote. And people don't know that. They don't understand that. They don't realize if they're in a shelter, they can vote. They don't realize that if they are still floating between relatives, that they can still find an address that they can use legitimately to vote. There's so much that people need to know. And we want to protect all those voters out there. People with disabilities, we want to make sure that they are able to find an accessible location. All of those issues, there's so much. And for all our brothers and sisters in those districts, like Tennessee's 9 and all the other districts that have been affected by the Calais chaos, we want them to understand what they need to do now in order to be able to vote. So there's so much that we are going to be doing on this Good Trouble weekend of action.
When you talk about this event, it's really a continuation of what we've seen coming out of Montgomery. That was an event that took place in Harlem.
Yes.
And so there were other activations that took place on the ground in Louisiana, Alabama, other places as well, Mississippi too. And so is that what the emphasis is again, constantly driving this agenda?
Yes, it's 700 events that will be taking place. And actually, it's more than 700 because not everybody registers their event. But there will be at least 700 events nationwide. And this is a continuation. Now, we're calling this Freedom Summer, right? Freedom Summer 2026. We're part of that. But we're also picking up what I call movement convergence. So we're working with labor groups. We're working with No Kings, with Indivisible. We're bringing in all kinds of groups into a common juggernaut to fight for our voting rights. So there's a lot here. I'm so grateful for all the many, many organizations. We've had, almost 200 partners who have come together to be part of this. And the one good thing is that all of us are committed to keeping it going. This is just one stop. Just like Montgomery was one stop, Jackson was one stop, just like Tennessee was a stop, just like South Carolina was a stop them, just like Georgia was a stop them. We are determined to fight for it every single day through November 3rd and beyond. Because this is going to be a fight. If he's trying to take away mail-in balloting, 45 million people used mail-in balloting in 2024. 45 million. not half of the electorate, but a whole big segment of the electorate. And I think people need to understand how critical it is for us to be out there making sure that voters are not only educated, not only registered, but very strongly protected.
Again, folks, it's taking place. First of all, where do people sign up? This is what I have, right? This is the flyer that I have. So the rally starts at what time tomorrow?
It starts at 10 a.m. in the morning because we're in hot Atlanta, folks.
Okay, so this is
Atlanta.
all right. So this actually was the earlier flyer that says 12. So it's beginning at 10 a.m. beginning at 10 a.m. tomorrow, in the location.
Yes, we'll be at Big Bethel AME Church at 220 Auburn Avenue, Northeast, and we're encouraging people to come to the parking lot where we'll be holding this huge gathering, and we want everybody to come. Bring your children, come. Bring your friends, come. This is where we stake our ground, that we say that we are part of a movement. We're not some isolated person out there. We unify, we make change. And if we're going to make the change that's going to stop this autocracy, going to stop this authoritarianism, that's going to stop this fight to take away our vote by these anti-democracy forces, the only way we do that is by unifying and by being there and committing and getting the information. We're going to be passing out information. We're going to have all kinds of amazing speakers like Congressman Jonathan Jackson, like Congressman Hank Johnson, like Congressman Stephen Horsford. There's going to be some great people there. There's going to also be a lot of incredible local community organizations there that will continue to work with everybody through this November. I'm so excited. I've been watching the videos of actions that happened today, that are still happening today. And it's just beautiful to see how people are coming together to honor John Lewis's legacy through real good trouble, real good hard work. And we are determined. We will never, as he said, we'll never give in. We will never give up. This fight is ours to win.
All right, then. So again, folks, this is taking place 10 a.m. Tomorrow in Atlanta. If you can't make it and if you're out of the city, we will be live streaming it right here on the Black Star Network beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And so this is actually the update. Go to my iPad. You see it right here. 10 a.m. Atlanta rally, Saturday, July 18th, Big Bethel AME Church, 220 Auburn Avenue, Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia. And so look forward to it. Barbara, thanks a bunch. All right, Barbara's muted. I don't know what she was. Barbara, you muted? There you go. Okay, go ahead. Actually, Barbara, I think you are muted. I think you must have hit a button on your end, Barbara.
No.
There, Barbara, just talk.
Okay.
There we go. All right. You were saying something. Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was just saying that thank you because you don't know how many people want to watch this live stream because they cannot get out into the street, but they are still committed. And in fact, we're going to have some of those people calling voters across the country tomorrow afternoon to help reach to the voters who may not know of all of this is happening. But it's beautiful that you're making this accessible to all those people who told us we can't get in the street, but we want to be part of this. And when they heard that there was going to be a live stream, they just were gasping and just, gushing with joy. So thank you for doing this.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate it, Barbara. Thanks a lot.
All righty, take care.
Appreciate it. Folks, a federal lawsuit filed by 2 former black female executives against the McDonald's fast food chain is set for a jury trial in September. In March, a judge dismissed some of the suit's claims while ruling that 6 counts of hostile work environment and unlawful retaliation could proceed. The women allege a regional president criticized them as having a black woman attitude and referred to executives as angry black women. A former McDonald's franchisee, Van Jakes, joins us right now. You've had a number of franchisees also suing McDonald's. Van, what do you make of the judge allowing this lawsuit to move forward?
Well, it's great news for us, Roland. We've been waiting a long time to get our day in court. Basically, it's basically saying it's systematic racism been going on in the system with employees, with McDonald's franchisees, some of the vendors, even so, and that hurts our community. So that's why we're so excited to finally get our day in court. We should be right after them, and we're just excited to get this move forward.
How will their lawsuit, though, help you and the franchisees that are also suing McDonald's?
Yeah, so we got some of the same claims as racism, unfair treatment, looking at how they placed us, way they came in our stores, undocumented in our stores, and that hurts our growth. I mean, it hurts our bottom line. That did hurt our bottom line, and even more importantly, it hurts our Black communities. For example, I've got to go to a funeral tomorrow for an ex-director of operator of mine that worked her way all the way up from a swing manager. Her name is Michelle X, rest in peace. And she became a franchisee of another brand, but I was able to give her that opportunity. Now you take away those opportunities for our communities, and that hurts the economic system that we have. So we're excited to get out there in court, and we know that we're gonna get our fair share.
One of the things that I've heard from folks is that so much has changed with McDonald's since Don Thompson was forced to resign as CEO. He spent about 18 months there, was CEO worldwide, worked himself up, and of course was known all around the country. Again, for an African American to rise to become the CEO of McDonald's was a huge accomplishment. And so, your thoughts on that? Because there were a number of executives that Don put in charge, African Americans at McDonald's.
Yeah, so we can actually go back and put a pin on when things started to change, and that exactly. I think we met with Don. You had dinner with us one time in Chicago, I believe, and when he left, we could see. Basically, they even told us in a meeting that the train is leaving the station. You're gonna have fewer operators with fewer stores. What does that mean? That means that the bottom of the barrel was us, the Black operators, because we started late, so we had less stores. So they were going to systematically get rid of us as they move this thing forward. For example, here in Atlanta, we had 32 Black operators. Now there's 10. Then the store count might be close, but you got one Black operator with 20 stores versus 5 Black operators with 5 stores. Now, in their communities, that hurts so much because you can't get to that one operator, but you can get to at least 1 or 2 of those 5 operators. And that's exactly what happened when Don left. The system started to basically systematically come in for a lot of different reasons to cut us from rents, from locations, from security, to rewrites. And they did do that to the white operators. And we have witnesses. And the thing they're doing now is trying to drag us out. So those witnesses are getting older. Some have passed away. Some of them are not coherent. And I know that's for a fact. I still have a couple operators that my witnesses are still in the system that will testify, but we got to get out there in court. So that's what we're hoping for.
Real quick, questions from the panel. Matt, you first.
Yeah, so my question was, is there a dollar figure that the Black operators were forced to pay more of? Like, what do the metrics look like? Because I get the general idea of the lawsuit, but I'd be interested in seeing what that is in terms of the higher premiums y'all had to pay, the higher insurance costs. What do those numbers look like?
So we operate on basically cash flow. And so your top end sales is great, but you got to get your cash flow. The higher your cost, the less your cash flow. We had higher security, higher rents, putting us in tougher stores with lower sales, that hurts your cash flow. When you have to remodel a restaurant, one of my situations, they made me remodel a restaurant 3 times. And each time I have to put that debt on top of debt. And if you don't allow the white operator to just do what he wants to do, and he doesn't have to do what I did, then he can make some more cash flow. So that's one of the biggest things that we're talking about is the cash flow issue.
Nicole?
So what advice do you have for other Black franchisees? What should they be looking out for so they can make sure that they're not being discriminated against?
Well, to me, that's always an exit strategy. You got to figure out what's your end game, the number of units, take it and do something different with it, get into real estate, because the game is always changing, no matter what the franchise is. To me, I would always tell somebody in the franchise, look for an end game, because it's going to change.
Michael?
All right, Van. I was wondering, I've known a lot of African-American McDonald's franchisees over the course of a number of years, and I was wondering, what was it that initially attracted you to McDonald's to become a franchisee?
Yeah, great question. And again, McDonald's was good to me and my family and a lot of operators because it had a proven system where you can get a hamburger here, it's going to be the same. They had a training program. You know, they gave you a lot of support. It did cost you a lot. You did have to work the business good because you knew what you were doing. So, you know, once we figured that out, we were like rock stars in this because, you know, just give us opportunity. But when you start changing the goal line, it makes it so difficult. You know, we know we're behind because a lot of times we come in without not as much capital as white operators. But then you start changing the goal lines in terms of the metrics and how you're going to reach your goals. And so that made it so frustrating. And we just kind of got tired of it. It was like a Me Too movement.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Well, again, folks, the lawsuit of Vicky Guster-Hines and Dominica Neal, they actually filed a lawsuit, y'all, in 2020. So it's been 6 years. And so it is scheduled. It is scheduled to go to trial in September. A lot of times these things happen, Van. They settle before they actually go to trial. I take it that you would prefer to have these issues aired in front of a jury as opposed to a settlement. Your thoughts?
Well, right now, you know, they've got McDonald's is trying to get our case dismissed. So we're trying to get past that to get the discovery. And once we get discovery and get our day in court, we will consider settling the case. But again, it's like you're slapping you on the head until you just get out of here. You know, you're going to go away, die, go away. We push it off as long as we can. That's kind of is a frustrating part. So we're like, okay, let's go to court. We got some great trial lawyers. We'd love to go to court. But we wouldn't be opposed for a settlement. But we're not even close to that because we got to get the judge to rule that we can move our case forward. And then we get the discovery.
All right, then. Well, Van, we certainly appreciate you joining us. And thanks a bunch. Lastly, how's your golf game?
Well, you know, we played today. It's hot down here. You know, I got fans on my golf cart.
I'm from Houston. It ain't hot. Stop being soft.
Okay.
Stop being soft.
Okay. All right. Well, we look for you to come back down here. We had a great time.
Oh, yeah. I'll be back. All right. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks a bunch. Folks, last night we covered the recent break-in at the Harriet Tubman Museum and Educational Center in Cambridge, Maryland. And, of course, we were talking about the issues they had there. And I put out there that, hey, you know what? We need to lift them up to raise $50,000 to get it reopened, security system, repair the door. And so then we put it out there and said, hey, let's try to raise $10,000 in the next 24 hours. And so even before we went off the air, we were talking with Linda Harris. People were already donating, and people were commenting on social media. So Linda joins us right now. And so, Linda, how you doing? How have the last 24 hours gone?
Unbelievable. Listen, by midnight last night, let me give you the numbers. I looked at the analytics. We got 286 people donating a total of $10,925.
All right, then.
Now, but wait a second. Now through 7 o'clock today, we increased that number by to 324 people, and for a total of $16,163.
So 324 people,
$16,163.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
It's awesome, and you are a saint, okay? I just want you to, if no one told you that today, know that you're a saint, and I'm grateful beyond words.
And remember, you put that 25,000 figure out, and so we only 7,000. We only 7,000 away from hitting that figure. So we're on our way to the 50. I know. Let me see if he posted it. I'm not gonna see. Oh, give me 1 second. Let's see, because I hit a number of big-time media folks and others, letting them know what we were doing and telling them to share it. And so I'll double check. One of them, Michael Strahan told me he was definitely going to put it out there. I'm looking for his social to see what he did, and that's some other ones as well. So what we're going to do is that's 24 hours. And so what my hope is for us to continue to push this over the weekend. I'm going to tell people so far 325 people have donated, 16,163, and so we're going to push folks to do that. And so what we'll do is we're going to have you back on Monday, and hopefully we will have hit the $50,000 goal by Monday.
Oh my! I mean, that would be unbelievable. I mean, I just want you to know I cried most of last night because, you know, I do this thing. I'm a volunteer, and I never imagined that there'd be this kind of outpouring. So I'm exceedingly grateful for what you've done. It's pretty amazing. And thank you.
Well, we've got an amazing audience, and they support.
Yeah.
Listen, they know we focus on Black interest, and they know that what we care about our community. And I hate the fact that those punks broke into the center there, stealing your donation box and damaging those murals in the door. Hopefully that person or persons are arrested, but we want to make sure that y'all have some protection. And the other thing is this here. So this is what we'll do. So I know you're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so when we finish raising this money and y'all call the contractors and get open on that Thursday or Friday, we're actually going to do Roland Martin Unfiltered from the museum. Now, I know y'all close at 4. We're live at 6, so we still got to be open. There's also a special guest who I reach out to about that as well. And so don't be surprised if you be hearing from Governor Westmore.
Oh my God! Well, Westmore loves Cambridge. He loves Cambridge.
Well,
that's amazing.
He and I chatted last night, and so once everything gets fixed, and then y'all set to reopen, we will do the show live. Want to bring the community out there and have a grand time.
Well, you got to promise to walk with me on the Underground Railroad. You know, I've walked it, so you got to walk with me.
Okay, that ain't no problem.
Just so you know.
First of all,
that would be amazing.
First of all, how far are we walking?
So only about 3 miles.
No, that's fine. I ain't got a problem walking 3 miles. I'm just, because you got to understand how I think when you say walking. I'm instantly thinking in terms of how it's covered in broadcasting. That's just how my mind thinks. So that's why I was wondering that. So
no, it can be done. It can be done.
All right, ain't no problem.
So
that ain't no problem. Listen, we got a 24-foot Sprinter, a 35-foot bus. We can mount our cameras on it. That ain't no big. That ain't nothing for us.
Oh, that'll be amazing. That'll be amazing.
All right.
Let me just say, Monday I won't be. I'm going to Portugal. I'm also a musician, so I'm going to Portugal to perform. So I won't.
That's fine.
Monday.
So have somebody send us an email.
Okay, I'll send you an email.
Send us an email, and so we can tell folks on Monday. But we're gonna set a goal. We raised $16,000 in 24 hours. Let's hit that $50,000 for everybody. If you're watching tonight and you were not watching last night. Our goal is to get this museum reopened. They need to get a new door, fix murals, put a new security system in. This is their website right here. This is their website for you to give. So you go to the donate page. We want you to go to the donate page. It's HarrietTubmanMuseumCenter.org. And then when you click donate now, there's a button on there that you can actually click. That says, you'll see it right there, donate in the name of, and just put hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered. Put hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered there as well. And Linda and her team, and again, Linda, if y'all don't have anybody on the website to work on it, just hit me. I have web people, so we can make sure, help y'all to get a PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, and Cash App account open so y'all can take those donations, because I guarantee you have that, your donations are going to go even a lot faster.
Okay, I've already put that in motion.
All right, so once we got it on the site, we'll push it out there. And so we are well on our way to 50 grand. We appreciate it.
Oh, You're appreciated. Thank you so much. God bless you.
All right, thanks a bunch. Thanks a bunch.
Okay.
Go to our panel here. You know, Michael, we talk about history and why it's important. And one of the things that we keep saying is that, we discussed this last time as well, is that, you know, we can't count on cities, states, federal government funding, controlling our history, our museums. You got the Charles Wright Museum there in Detroit. You've got other museums across the country. There's a revolutionary, I mean, you got statues as well. And one of the things that I try to do whenever I travel, if I see a black statue or a monument or something like that, I'm always taking a photo, posting it, because, you know, you got them racist daughters of the Confederacy. They put up all them monuments all around the country, these Confederate folks. But you know what? It's a lot of different monuments of African Americans in museums that we need to be aware of. So when we travel, hey, just take some time out of your schedule, pop by, visit, make a donation, see it, and then go back to your vacation or your travels.
Absolutely, Roland. You know, freedom isn't free, and the history of African Americans is not free either. It has to be financed. It has to be preserved. It has to be documented. So, you know, I really appreciate what Sister Linda Harris is doing and everybody there. But we need to make this type of museum, the Harriet Tubman Museum and Educational Center, we need to make that a destination when we go on vacation, not something that we do to try to waste a couple of hours of filling the gap. But we cannot rely, especially in this society, when we see the tax on DEI, when we see the cutbacks in corporate funding for African-American events and organizations, we cannot rely upon white people to finance the preserving of African-American history. So you only protect what you respect. So we have to put our money where our mouth is and support initiatives like this.
Absolutely. Nicole.
You know, you're right. We absolutely cannot trust them with our history, and we never could. You know, we see what this administration is doing with the Smithsonian museums. I actually went to the National Museum of African American History a few weeks ago, and you could see the differences. They also don't want to teach us our history in schools. They're trying to act like slavery never happened. So we have to take history into our own hands. And if we want the next generation to know what's really going on and what has really happened in the United States, then we have to make sure that we're putting our money where it needs to be and that we're being intentional about where we travel.
Matt?
Well, and first I want to commend you, Roland, for the way you've helped the museum and helped donate, or rather generate donations to them. It's really an extraordinary thing, and I want to commend you and your team for using the platform for that. The only thing I'll add to my fellow panelists is just, you know, there is a moral duty in curation if you're doing it the right way, and we have to support the people who are preserving this history, because as Nicole just said, we see it not only happening in museums, we see it happening in schools. We're losing places in society where there's truth and where there's honor to, you know, show the past for our people, particularly because it's being attacked. So it's imperative that we preserve it, and I'm glad this museum is, and I want to commend you and your team for what you've done in your efforts in helping them rebuild after this tragedy.
Well, folks, again, we launched the goal to raise $10,000 in 24 hours. 324 donors have raised $16,163. And so we're going to keep it going. I want all of y'all to reshare, repost, push it out yourself over the weekend, and to not listen, my social media and so many others. And so, y'all, we can let's hit 50,000. Let's raise this money by Monday so they can quickly get the contractor, get their door fixed, get the murals fixed, get the security camera installed, so they can move forward. And then once we raise that 50, our target will then go on a mission to try to raise at least $500,000 over 12 to 18 months, so they can have an economic cushion. Y'all, the museum is 2 volunteers. You heard Linda say it's just 2 of them. It's 2 volunteers that are doing that. And so it'd be great if they could hire someone. You talk about social media as well, being able to sort of drive that. Their page on Instagram is Harriet_Tubman_museum. So please give them a follow as well. And so we would love to make this possible. Folks, do we have the in memoriam for George Johnson ready? Roll it. The pioneering George Johnson, of course, who Ultra Sheen, Johnson Products, pioneer in the hair care industry, was laid to rest today at Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. A number of people streamed it. I'm actually trying to get the church to send me the link so we can restream it here on the Black Star Network. So many people, of course, remembered him as a legendary figure, and the family owning it and the work that they did. And I didn't bring it in, but his book, I just got a copy of it as he talks about his history. And of course, if you black, you remember, because they had these, yes, you know I went and dug up one. They had these bottles. They were in green and blue, Ultra Sheen. Matt, it's a long time since he used Ultra Sheen. Same for Michael. But Ultra Sheen, Matt, do you remember Ultra Sheen?
You know, it's funny. I can think of it on my mom's bathroom counter. So I don't know that I used it, but my mom definitely did. Probably still is.
There you go. So he was laid to rest today in Chicago. John Rogers of Era Capital, founder of Era Capital, spoke at his homegoing service. This is what he said.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Madeline, for inviting me to join in celebrating George's life and legacy, and for the love and joy you brought to him in these later years. I also want to acknowledge Eric, John, Petey, and Joni, his grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and his many dear friends that are here today. In September 1942, my father, one of the original Tuskegee Airmen, wrote a letter to his sister as he headed overseas to defend the freedom that he did not fully experience in America. He told her that he was going to show the white world that a black man could fly. I've been thinking about that letter because by the mid-1950s, George Johnson was taking off and building his own blueprint for black freedom. As we know, George became one of the most consequential entrepreneurs of the 20th century, not only because he built an extraordinary company, because he expanded what the nation believed was possible for black Americans, including what we believed about ourselves. When you walked into Johnson Products, you saw black scientists, black engineers, black executives, black excellence. It was more than a best-in-class factory. It was a beacon of hope. George also refused to separate his beliefs from his bottom line. It wasn't just that he was the first black entrepreneur to take his company public. He used his influence to take a courageous stance on civil rights when there was tremendous risk in doing so. When Dr. King came to Chicago, George wrote early checks and guaranteed his loan with Independence Bank. He helped a young Jesse Jackson find his footing and get Operation Breadbasket off the ground. And of course, he was a longtime anchor for the Chicago Urban League. George built other people's dreams as fearlessly as he built his own. For example, he prepaid 2 years of advertising for a struggling young magazine called Essence. And he helped Burrell Advertising become the largest black ad agency in the country. And of course, advertised in Ebony and Jet. He saw something in a young Don Cornelius and helped put Soul Train on the map. George had vision and a remarkable gift for seeing potential in people long before the rest of the world did. So many of these entrepreneurs went on to have extraordinary success stories in their own right. And his son Eric is no exception. He's built one of the most successful black companies in the country in an entirely different industry. So I too had the honor of watching George in action for most of my life. From seeing him work with my mom and stepdad's law firm as a kid, to having him sign on as one of Ariel's first clients when I founded the firm at age 24, to watching him bring a crowd of black directors to tears last fall after an interview in Laguna Beach. I truly love George. He was always there, ready with caring counsel and helpful advice. We all know that George Johnson lived by the golden rule. He knew that lifting everyone around him meant we would all rise together. He was a giant, a titan of industry, one of the most inspiring business leaders of our time. But he wasn't content to just sit back and enjoy what he built. George didn't just believe we could fly. He spent his whole life helping others take flight. Thank you.
And as I said, we are working to get the video link of the service so we can stream it on the Black Star Network. Final comment from our panel, and that is when we think about historically these black pioneers, and you heard John Rogers there reference Essence, reference Ebony, reference Black Enterprise, reference Don Cornelius in Soul Train. I don't think people really understand, Michael, that in that period after the Civil Rights Movement, when you think about Operation Breadbasket 1966 to 1971 and morphing from Operation Breadbasket into Rainbow Push, the work that Reverend Jackson did in opening doors, getting products on the shelves, then those businesses were able to then turn around and take the money being made from African Americans and then reinvest that in black media and other black businesses, including George Johnson, founder of Independence Bank right there in Chicago.
Right, exactly. You know, this is part of the civil rights movement. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that the civil rights movement was about white people wanting to eat at a white lunch counter, things like that. Yes, we wanted all of our rights, but also we were fighting for economic rights and fighting for black businesses and black business ownership, so they could buy ads for something like Soul Train. Soul Train was revolutionary. I remember watching Soul Train when I was a kid. It came on Friday night. Here in Detroit, and second grade, third grade, and seeing the Afro Sheen commercials, seeing Afro Sheen advertised in Ebony magazine, Jet magazine. My grandparents had classic issues of Ebony and Jet, things of this nature. So, George Johnson was an icon, and this was also Johnson Products was one of the first African American owned businesses to be listed on a major American stock exchange. It was on the American Stock Exchange in 1971. So this is a textbook case of how the civil rights movement leads to black economic empowerment, and he was also employing African Americans as well. So this is a brother that's sorely going to be missed, and these are big shoes to fill at the same time.
Nicole, one of the things that Martin Deppie said in his book on Operation Breadbasket, and you heard John reference that as well, is that when Dr. King came to Chicago, SCLC they were always having issues making payroll. Okay, it wasn't easy at all. And Dr. King was always having to raise money. And so he comes to Chicago, and he tells Reverend Jackson, hey, we want to visit these two black banks to see if we can get a loan. And Reverend Jackson then says, Doc, we got to stop by this house first. And Dr. King says, Jesse, I don't have time for this. We need to get to these banks. He said, Doc, trust me, let's make a stop first. So they go to this home. They walk in. It's a group of black businessmen in there. And after some small talk, hello, all of a sudden, Dr. King is handed an envelope. It was 3 months worth of payroll for SCLC. And Deppie writes that Dr. King just started crying and said that was the first time during the civil rights movement that black business leaders had actually done something along those lines. That's what I'm always trying to say to even our black civil rights groups, to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, the Congressional Black Caucus, and others. If they are using their power to open up the economic levers for black businesses, we then in turn can reinvest and sow into our organizations to keep doing the work. Now, unfortunately, some black folks didn't do that with Reverend Jackson, Rainbow Push, and others. And that to me is a fundamental problem. But the reality is black business owners need activists and civil rights groups, again, shaking those trees to open the doors, as opposed to us sort of just standing here by ourselves. I've said that if the Urban League, the NAACP, if they challenge Pepsi, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, AT&T, and all these Fortune 500 companies, even when it comes to black-owned media, we talk about use of black law firms, black accounting firms, bond firms, PR firms, catering companies, transportation companies. You would see an infusion of billions of dollars into African-American businesses, and we know who we hire, and so all of a sudden now you're impacting families being hired as well. That's how community economics works, and George Johnson understood that.
Yeah, and I think, people forget that we had to fund the civil rights movement and movements since then. We celebrate these black millionaires and these black billionaires for whatever reason, but where is that money going? That money needs to be circulating in the black community and funding movements that will help us get more freedom in this country. Now, aside from that, his products also, made us feel beautiful. They were staples in our homes, and he also made us feel seen, not only through his products, but like you said, magazines that our grandmothers and grandfathers read and trickled down to younger generations like us. He also proved that Black consumers are important and that we do have a place in the market. So he was a pioneer, and Black executives today should be looking at him as a model for how they should operate. And I'll lastly say that I have some Ultrasheen in my bathroom right now. I know none of y'all ain't never used it, but it actually works.
There you go. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, that's the line actually that stuck out to me the most, was that he built other people's dreams just as vigorously as he built his own. I think he said something to that effect. And I really thought that was extraordinary. I think Nicole and Michael hit it on the head, but I think what's especially important about that is it sounds like he wasn't gatekeeping opportunities. Instead, he was seeing that people needed that leg up and felt that moral duty to provide it to them. And that is what we're called to do when we have an opportunity. I mean, just like I was lauding you for using your platform, that's what we're required to do, I think, as a community. And the idea that someone of his prominence would see people coming behind him and then do things like pay 2 years of their advertising, I mean, that's extraordinary. And to think of, in my own home, growing up, I saw Essence and Jet and Ultrasheen and all these things, and that he was thinking to make sure that he supported those other entrepreneurs who were coming behind him is really an extraordinary example for young people to follow and try to pattern after.
Yep, and again, taking $250 and building an empire with Afro Sheen and Ultrasheen. Certainly, thoughts go out to the family of George Johnson. Of course, passed away at the age of 99, one hell of a legacy. Folks, that is it for us. Let me thank Matt. Let me thank Nicole. Let me thank Michael. I certainly appreciate y'all joining us on today's show. Folks, that is it for us. I appreciate all of y'all for watching as well. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Black-owned media matters, and I'll be straight up. We don't have a lot of black firms that are investing in black media like you saw what George Johnson did. And so the support of every single one of our viewers is critically important. It matters. Like I said, y'all, I don't sit here and joke. I went to the post office today. These literally, I don't want to show addresses, but these literally are, no, give me a tight shot. These literally are the envelopes. Literally, I went to the post office before I came and showed. What you laughing for, Matt? Matt, what you laughing for?
Addresses. I was like, man.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, but I want to show folks addresses. I mean, No, I'm
good. I'm glad. I'm supporting that idea. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, but I need people to understand this is real. These are literally These are literally checks and money orders that I picked up from the post office box today. These are the folks who say they ain't down with no electronic stuff. They don't give a damn about no Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. And I can see off the top of my head, Lisa Jenkins, Columbus, Ohio, Cheryl Dugan, Napoleon Keys. Man, it's a couple others. Those three jump off. These are folks, especially Lisa Jenkins. I got to give her a shout out. That sister has literally tithed to this show every month since we launched almost 8 years ago. Every month, I get a check from her. Cheryl Dugan, I get a check from her. Napoleon Keys sends me a money order. There are some others, but again, I appreciate everybody. We've had people give as little as $1. We've had people give as much as the biggest donation we got from an individual was $100,000. We had a brother who hit us one day who said, man, YouTube buffering too much. I heard you building an app. Here's $5,000 for your app. And just like with the Heritage Museum, this is really what I need people to understand. Because when I say we haven't had entertainer, we only had 2 entertainers. We haven't had any sports figures, to my knowledge. And I look at all the folks who give. People say, well, man, what about the rappers and entertainers? Y'all, I'm not waiting on an entertainer or a sports figure or even a black CEO for us to make the call. Regular and ordinary people are the reason black folk have been able to survive. Regular and ordinary people are the ones who bought the Chicago Defender. They're the ones who bought Negro Digest, Ebony and Jet, and Essence and Black Enterprise, who supported BET in its days when it was black owned, supported TV One, who bought Emerge magazine, and on and on and on. And so I'm not wasting my time saying what other folks are not doing. We focus on what folks are doing. Our goal is to do the work. Our goal is to give you the content and cover the stories that matter to you. And that's what it is. And what I also appreciate about our fan base, when we started this whole thing, I told people, hey, unlike NPR, I can't send you hats, T-shirts, bumper stickers, and all that stuff, because swag costs money, postage costs money. And we probably had 100 or so people who have given money who said, well, I ain't got nothing in return. The people who have donated said, what we get back is the content. What we get back is the news that we cover. And so I appreciate that. If you have not joined our Bring the Funk fan club, y'all know we run the names of every donor. We are approaching 50,000 donors. We're about 500 away, or maybe close to that. We run the names every Friday, giving y'all props for supporting us. If you want to donate via Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. That could be also used for credit cards. If you are listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com to donate. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. If you send check and money order, give me some time, please. It ain't going to clear in a week. I got to literally go through. And again, I don't assign this to an intern or anybody else. I personally open every envelope. I see the notes in the cards that y'all give us. I have saved every single letter, note, and card that y'all have given in 7, almost 8 years. So I personally do this myself. That's right. Sign the back of the check, take the picture, the mobile deposit, and for money orders, I have to send them to our CFO in Chicago because you can't always deposit those. So understand, I personally do that. But if you want to give via PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, do me a favor, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. We got our hats and T-shirts and mugs and all that stuff. That's available right there on the site. Of course, we have our also our America at 250 tell the whole story mugs are available. Yeah, don't buy that Donald Trump stuff. You can go ahead and, of course, get this right here. We also have our shirt right here, America at 250 tell the whole story. We have some other shirts as well. I love our shirts where this is the James Baldwin quote. Right here that we have this shirt right here. You see it? We've got another shirt with the Paul Robeson. Hey, Candy Carter and your team, y'all didn't send me the Harry Belafonte shirt. This is a shirt we have with the quote of the great Paul Robeson. We also have a shirt with Dr. King's Be True to What You Said on Paper quote as well from his April 3rd, 1968 sermon. Let's see what we got here. This one here, we got this is the Bob Moses quote we have right here. Shirt as well. And again, actually, what I told them, we're going to have America at 250 on top of this here because, we want to be sure to have those quotes for you. We are not fully free. This is our T-shirt right here as well, so you can get that. We also have our bags with NLK and some other quotes on it as well. So all these products are right there at shopblackstarnetwork.com. Plus, yes, I'm sitting here again. I'm burning Tribe Oaks candle right here. We had them on the show this week. You can get their products at shopblackstarnetwork.com. All the products you see right here are black-owned companies. All of those companies are available on our shopblackstarnetwork.com website. When you buy products from there, you're also supporting this show as well. So we appreciate you supporting those products. And shout out to Alabama State. This is one, I think it's Alabama State. What am I wearing? Yes. Their slogan, where history is made. So this Alabama State shirt, their vote shirt, I got this when I was down there, so I appreciate it. Their colors are the right colors, black and gold, which drives their Omega president crazy. Yes, I'm King Petty. All right, that's it for us. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all on Monday right here. Oh, last thing, if you live in D.C., New York City, the whole East Coast, I need you to wear a mask this weekend. Those wildfires in Canada, that smoke, it was insane today. I made a video, a 1 minute and 2 second video outside of the post office and could barely get through it, started choking. So that smoke is all over the East Coast. If you're gonna be outside for literally longer than 2 or 3 minutes, please wear a mask. It is not, the air quality conditions are horrendous. So between the air quality and the heat index, the numbers are they're at dangerous levels. I was on the New York Times website. Again, we just want to make sure everybody is safe, especially our older viewers. We need y'all to really take care, be safe. I was sitting here, let me see it. I saw it on the website. You see right here, watch the smoke move across North America from space. You see right here, the heat index in Houston is at a dangerous level. Jacksonville, dangerous level. Chicago is at a dangerous level. And this right here is so you see that smoke. That smoke is how it is moving all across the country. So please, y'all, be careful, protect your lungs. If you have asthma, absolutely. My mom has asthma, take precautions. We do not want y'all to be ill. Y'all, thanks a bunch. And I know it's ticking me off because I had plans to play golf this weekend. That ain't gonna happen because the air is really bad outside. All right, folks, that's it. I'll see y'all on Monday. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!